Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome. Kavach, Shavua Tov. Maybe a week that we hear Besoros Tovos, Yeshuas, and Nachamos. Maybe a good week for Klal Yisrael, for Am Yisrael. So gratified by this wonderful turnout, which really is a testament to people's yearning, eagerness to grow, to learn, to become better and better versions of ourselves. We originally set up, people were sitting separately, men and women, and quickly we morphed. Husbands and wives want to be able to elbow each other. Did you hear what she said? That's you. You need to work on that. That's your part. We don't want to deprive you of that ability to use your sharp elbows, so we allowed it to flow. I really just want to introduce tonight by thanking Ms. Shira Fruchter for coming in from Eretz Yisrael, from Israel, to be with us. Both yesterday, her talk to the Neshei Kiddush and Shir, this evening in this workshop, and tonight is really a teaser. It's really supposed to launch what is a 5-part workshop. The next 4 parts will take place over Zoom. You can sign up, you saw it in the weekly, to give us some of the tools and some of the instruments to be able to have these conversations within our parts, to learn about ourselves, and as a result, not just to learn about ourselves to feel better or to excuse ourselves, but to become better versions of ourselves. You're here to hear her tonight, not me, and you heard my very, very amateur, aspirational version of an understanding of IFS, internal family systems, on Shabbos Shuvah, where we examine many, many, many Torah sources. And I have to tell you, we barely scratched the surface. Since I got excited about this topic, almost everything I look at in Torah just screams IFS, parts. So I want to introduce her by sharing an amazing Chassam Sofer in the Drashas. In the Shabbos Shuvah Drasha, the great Chassam Sofer of Moshe Sofer says the following. The Gemara in Sukkah and elsewhere tells us that Kol HaGadol Mechavero Yitzro Gadol Mimenu, that anyone who is greater than another, their Yetzer Hara, their temptation, their drive, their evil instinct, or their instinct to misbehave is also greater. We tend to think the greater you are, you have no Yetzer Hara that distracts you, but it's actually the opposite. The more creative, the more dynamic, and the more spiritual a person is, often with that passion comes other forms of passion, temptation towards passion. The greater a person is, the greater the Yetzer Hara they have to contend with. Nachsam's over there, now is not the time, tries to explain a whole Gemara that tells us in the future Hashem will slaughter the Yetzer Hara, and to the righteous it will look one way, Kichotasara, to those less righteous it will look like a tall hill. And how do you understand that? Chassam Sofer ends up with the following question though. He says, if it's true that great people have a greater Yetzer Hara, how do you understand our generation? And he was writing a couple hundred years ago. And already in his time, he says, in our times, we're not so great. We make mistakes. We follow our poor instinct and have poor judgment. We hang out in the wrong places. We look at the wrong things. We say the wrong things. We're not so great. We're not such great sheikhs. We're not such tzaddikim. And yet, we have this incredible Yetzer Hara. How do you understand it? If great people have a bigger Yetzer Hara, we're not so great, and we have an enormous Yetzer Hara, how do you make sense of that? And he elaborates. It's a much bigger conversation in Drasha, but it's his answer that jumped off the page at me as yet another affirmation of how Torah and IFS work together. He says, because we may think we're not great, we may struggle with our imperfect parts, but the self in each one of us is a tzaddik, is a gadol, is gadol mechavero. And so it is that greatness in us that is bringing about the struggle of that parallel Yetzer Hara. True, in some ways, some of our parts are less righteous than those who came before. But in the core of who we are, that self, that unadulterated pure self, the chelek elikal mimal mamish, the piece of us from God, the self we'll hear more about, that we are in fact great. And what is so validating to me, the reason I've been so drawn to and eager to learn, and after the Shabbos Shuvah Drasha, where several people came to me and they said, great, I'm bought in. We're made up of different parts. We have a self. Now, how do I do this? How do I talk to the parts? How do I reconcile the parts? How do I understand my parts? Which is why we're so grateful to have someone who's a real authority and literally wrote the book on Torah and IFS, which I strongly encourage you to get and to read, to help us answer that question and understand it. The reason it's so meaningful to me, it's so validating, it's so empowering, is because before it, many of us thought, I'm that complainer. I'm anxious. I'm jealous. I'm imperfect. I'm a failure. And IFS is so reassuring to say those are legitimate or real parts we have to contend with, but they're not the sum total of who we are. We're bigger, we're greater than just that. And it's validating and it's empowering. And if we can understand and learn as we will tonight and in the workshop that will follow, we'll be able to become better Ovdei Hashem, fulfill our mission more here on earth. We'll be better spouses and parents. We'll be better professionals in our career. We'll be better in everything that we do. So an enormous thank you, Mrs. Fruchter, for being with us, for coming all the way from Eretz Yisrael. And without any further ado, Mrs. Shira.
Okay, is this working now?
Yeah.
Because I can't scream again. I was really having a lot more respect for your Ray Goldberg than you could scream. Is this properly working? Is it loud enough? No. Is there any way to make this a tiny bit louder? Thank you. Like this?
I'll bring it to you. Hold it. Push it toward.
Hello? Better? Oh. Yeah, is it better? Okay, amazing. Okay, thank you so much, Ray Goldberg. Thank you so much for bringing me in. Thank you so much for inviting me in. It's really an honor. It's very surreal to be able to be here and to share this with all of you. IFS has really become like a real passion for me. And I'll tell you a little bit about my journey and how I got to it, and then we'll start. So IFS, just by a show of hands, other than a Ray Goldberg's amazing drasha, who has heard of IFS? Okay, great, excellent. Who has never heard of IFS before the Shabbos Shriva drasha? Wow, so I'm so happy you guys are learning about it. So IFS stands for Internal Family Systems. And it's a model that was created by Dr. Richard Schwartz, something like 30, 40 years ago. And in over the last like decade or even 5 years, it's become pretty major in terms of therapeutic modalities. When I met IFS, it was about 10 years ago. I already had a private practice, I live in Israel, and I really wanted more of a map of how I could really better help my clients. I felt that I didn't really know exactly what I was doing in the office. I went to social work school, I had a postmaster's, and I felt like, what are we really doing? And I was going to do CBT, which is really a map. And someone said, do IFS. And I said, what is that? And no one really knew. But the person who I really trusted said, I'm telling you, just do it. Lo and behold, it was just the 12 of us. It was a second training offered in Israel. And I literally fell in love with the model. And from then on, it's truly changed my life. Anyone who knows me before I met IFS could attest to that. IFS is way more than a therapeutic modality. It's the kind of theory that you take out of the office. And I think one of the reasons why it's become so popular is because it really obligates the therapist, that we're really all the same. And it's no longer going to be the therapist with their skills just helping the client, but that it really obligates me and the rest of the therapists to be what we're doing and to be what we're teaching and to be what we're offering. And it was a very, very humbling model because it really made us all equal and all the same, and it took away all those silly therapy rules. So I went on to do IFS level 1, and then IFS level 2, and then IFS level 3. And at some point I said to myself, why should therapists only get to learn this model? I kind of want my friends to know this language because I felt like it really was a language. And I felt like for me to even connect to them and to understand me and me to understand them, they should know this language. So I got 6 girls around my dining room table. I just started teaching them this language. And from there, it really just moved on to just so much wanting to spread this to anybody because I felt that it really wasn't something to use in the therapy room, but a way to look at the world. Just a lens to see the world, to see relationships, and to see ourselves. So that's how I ended up coming to to write the book. And I'm just so grateful that it's being spread like this all over and for people to have the opportunity to really, really learn it. So we're going to do a small intro tonight because it is a 4-part workshop. So this is going to be a little teaser, and we'll start. And hopefully you guys will like it and you'll want to know more. Okay, so basically IFS, what is it? It's a theory of people's personalities. IFS is all about people's personalities and people's parts. Because human beings are really not simple and straightforward. they're actually super complex. And we really like to think of ourselves as simple and neat and organized, but we're not. Human beings are really, really complex. And we're a complex set of a lot of interacting different parts of ourselves. We're made up of so many parts, millions and millions of parts of ourselves. And that's what makes the human experience so complex and so rich and so developed. So I want to illustrate this. Do you ever notice that sometimes you act different with different people or in different situations? Like you could wake up in the morning, you could be in an amazing mood, you bump into a friend and you're sharing, you're outgoing, you're extroverted, you want to connect. And then an hour later, you bump into someone else and you feel shy or introverted, or you really don't want to connect. Or in a certain situation, you find yourself very happy or very loud. And in another situation, you might find yourself actually very fearful. And we just notice that so many times we're acting so different, almost like we're different people. And how different people will see you in different parts of yourselves, right? And you can almost feel like you're a different person at different times because this person sees you one way and your family sees you another way. And even one of your children sees one part of you and another one of your children sees another part of you. And often we're having multiple experiences at one time, right? That we're almost always having more than one thing pulling at us at one time. So right now, you're all sitting here and you have many parts. Some of you might have parts that are like, I'm a little cynical. What's this whole IFS thing, please? It's really not going to be that great. And some of you might be like, I'm so excited to hear, what is IFS? And some of you might be really tired. And some of you might be really distracted. I know that I have parts. I have parts that are here thinking, I really want you guys to know the language. Then I have another part that's saying, but I really want you to come do the course, right? So we're all full of so many parts, and often they're just simultaneous parts pulling at us at one time. Sometimes you could be very excited for something, and at the same time, you're very anxious for it, all at the exact same time. You could be very happy and very sad at the exact same time. So we're pulled by many, many different parts. But what's most important is, why do we sometimes not act in our best interest? Why is it that we'll do something that we don't really want to be doing? And we know we don't want to be doing it. And we're doing it anyways, over and over and over again. It's pretty interesting. We know logically we want to stop doing that, and we can't. So often you can know you want to be doing one thing and you're doing something else. You can know you really want to be very warm right now, but you're feeling very cold. You can know you really want to be very nice, but you're feeling very angry, right? And we don't always act in our best interest. So if you take a moment right now, can you think of a behavior where you had a teeny bit of regret afterwards? Maybe recently something that really tripped you up, like you did something and afterwards you had a little bit of regret, where you really didn't feel good about yourself. Raise your hands if you could think of that. Yeah, exactly. Maybe you got into the car and you had some road rage. Someone cut you up and you had some road rage. Maybe you had regular rage, right? Like an adult tantrum. Maybe recently you binged. Maybe you went on a shopping spree and you bought a lot of things that you really didn't need. Maybe. And just kind of reflect back that you probably felt like you had very little control over that, right? So now you can conceptualize that that is just a part of you. That's it. That's all it is. It's really just a part of you. It's a road rage part. It's the over shopping part. It's the sugar loving part. It's just a part of you. And one of the things that is so liberating about the model for clients is that they come into the office, and those things that were before that so shameful are now just parts. It's not all of you, it's just a part of you. Your OCD part, your anorexic part, your rageful part, your screaming part, your binging part, they're just parts. They're not all of you. And these parts are equivalent to a real family. So just like everyone sitting here has a family, mother, father, sister, brother, aunts, uncles, cousins, inside of us, we actually have an internal family. And that is what we call our parts. It's the family that lives within us. And it's funny that Dick Schwartz at this point says he would have called it internal tribe. he wouldn't have called it a family anymore because it's so much bigger than just a family. We have a tribe of parts inside of us. So what do I mean when I say parts? Because I say it all the time. I basically mean everything. Anything that you would think is a behavior, a concept, a trait, a feeling, that's a part. Like I have a part that loves coffee. It's a part. So it's just really anything. Feelings, behaviors, traits, parts, okay? And each part is like a capsule that holds an entire experience. So we could actually all share the same part. Like we could all have perfectionistic parts in this room, but your perfectionism and your perfectionism and your perfectionism will be different than mine. Because each part of us is a capsule with an entire experience, an entire history, tons of memories, tons of stories of how it became that, how you developed that part and how I developed that part. So it's like its own capsule inside of you with an entire experience. Each part will have its own perspective. When you're in that part, it has a total perspective. When you're in another part, it has a total perspective, a different one. Okay, so I'm going to give it just a universal example of how this looks from Jay Early's book called Self-Therapy. Sarah wants to prepare a creative presentation for work, but she can't get started. She cleans her house, which takes her forever. Then she goes on the treadmill, and then she finally says, you know what, I'm ready to prepare the project. And then again, she distracts herself, and she goes to make dinner, which became a 3-course meal. After doing this cycle for a few days, Sarah acknowledges to herself that clearly she's avoiding doing the project. Her procrastination is also making her feel very bad about herself. She felt very stuck and she felt very exhausted. It's a common pattern that she knows about herself, where she often will find herself procrastinating and then feeling very down about it. She read self-help books, tried to get all these tips, but at the end of the day, she never got to the root of the issue. Okay, so clearly from the above story, we see that Sarah has one part that does not want to prepare the project. She doesn't want to prepare the presentation. If you ask Sarah what's that part called, she'll name it the busy part. And the busy part is here with a job to keep her from preparing the presentation. Even though she has another part that really knows it's a high priority for her. As unconscious as your parts are, that is how much power they have over you. The more unaware we are of our parts, the more power they have over us, because the hidden parts are the ones that really influence us. And there's one thing I want you to take out of tonight, it's to really begin to notice your parts. Because if we don't notice them, we can't do anything. When people enter the therapy office, and the first thing we always say is, can we notice? People are always like, oh, notice, that's so stupid. No. Noticing is the only way to create change. If something is hidden for you, and you don't know that you have it, you can't change it. It's impossible. So if someone would have gone over to Sarah and said, hey, why didn't you prepare the project? And she would have said, I had to go on the treadmill. Oh, okay. And then why did you prepare it the next night? Well, I had to make supper. There would be no one to work with. The only reason why we could help Sarah is because she was able to say, I have a part that actually wants to avoid this project. At the same time, I have a part that knows it's a really high priority for me. Okay? So the first step of anything we could do is to really notice what is going on inside of us, rather what's going on outside of us. You see, most people in the world do this. It's you, it's him, it's her, it's my boss, it's my husband, it's my wife, it's my kid, it's always someone else. The first thing in IFS is to do what we call a U-turn. We turn it around like the phone, we push a little button, and it turns to us. It's an emotional U-turn. We turn it over to ourselves and we say, hey, where is that touching me? What's going on inside of me that I am now have gone on the treadmill, made supper, cleaned my house, and haven't prepared the project? I am going to begin to notice that obviously I have a part that does not want to prepare this project, okay? Because we can't contemplate doing anything differently unless we know we're stuck. Okay, So in classic therapy, before I met IFS, the busy part would have become the enemy. And what do I mean? People come into the therapy office and they say, hey, I yell. Get rid of that. I'm anorexic. Heal me. I don't like my husband. Make me like him. I can't stand my children. Why don't I? Fix that. People literally think they're going to come in and just name their issue and we're going to make it go away. And the issue becomes the enemy. I have road rage. We got to get rid of that. I overspend. We got to get rid of that. The issue with that theory is we're really ignoring the root of the behavior and we're ignoring what motivates it. And we're ignoring really why it's here when we do that. So in IFS, we're really learning to ask the busy part why it does what it does. Why do these parts act this way? Why is this happening? Why are you so busy? Why don't you want to prepare the project? Why are you overspending? Okay? So I just want to pause and make sure, is this clear so far? I'm really open to, any questions?
It's not like there was like NLP, like the unconscious mind and stuff like that.
It might be connected. People say it's connected to a lot of different theories. You'll tell me. You don't know NLP.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I trust you. Anything else? Is it clear so far? Okay. Human systems function best when they're balanced. Okay? Often we live with these internal polarizations. So Sarah, here it is on the one hand, she really wants this presentation. It's so important for her work. But on the other hand, she doesn't want to prepare the presentation. It's a complete polarization. It's an internal fight. So I'll give you a classic example. You might have one part of you that really wants to lose weight, and another part of you that really wants to scarf down the cake. Most people can relate to that one. And these are both parts with a purpose and a reason for their behavior. If you're going to ask the cake part, why do you want the cake? It'll have a real reason for why it wants the cake, why it thinks it deserves the cake, why it thinks you earned the cake, why it thinks the cake's going to soothe you. It will have a reason. But the part that wants to lose weight, it's going to have a real reason why it wants to lose weight and what that means to it, right? And what makes it so much more complex is there's going to often be a third part that criticizes you and says, shame on you. You should have eaten an apple. Because we're made up of so many parts at the exact same time. And what we like to do is live in one part at a time. So what that looks like is a client of mine from years ago that came in the office and really wanted to lose weight. And she was significantly overweight. And she told me, I just love peanut butter, and I just need to eat it every night, just tons of it from the jar. But I'm really here because I want to lose weight. And I said, okay, great. Let's look at the part that really wants to lose the weight. And let's look at the part that really wants to have the peanut butter. She's like, no, I don't want to look at the peanut butter part. I only want to look at the part that wants to lose the weight. Complete refusal to look at the peanut butter part, because when she was in the office in the morning, she just wanted to lose the weight. And she was completely and totally in that mindset, in that perspective. Nothing else was in front of us but her need to lose the weight. When she went home at night and she was in her bed and she was craving the peanut butter, where was the part that wanted to lose weight? Nowhere to be found. The only part she was in at night was, I need the peanut butter. That was it. And she would get the peanut butter and she would make a smoothie, and it was a whole ritual with the peanut butter. And then she'd come back in the office, and again, I'd say, can we look at the peanut butter part? She said, no, you're not getting it. It's not there. I just need to lose weight. That's all I'm telling you. That's why I'm here. And this would go on. So the issue was she wasn't able to hold both parts at the same time, right? And that is what makes us very off balanced. If you think about making a family supper, and you're going to ask one kid what they want for supper, and they say, I want meat. And then you forget that the other kid really wanted pizza. And you bring the meat to the table, and you're like so excited to serve it, and the other kid's like, I told you I wanted pizza. And you're like, oh. And the next night you serve the pizza, and the kid's like, I told you I wanted meat. We live in one part at one time. We need to be able to hold two things. One kid wants pizza, one kid wants meat. Now can I think what I want to do about that? That's the same with the weight. One part wants to lose the weight, and one part really wants to eat and eat the cake. We need to hold two things at one time because they're parts of us and they're not us. They're just parts of us. So we call this in IFS unblending. Unblending is when we're able to talk for parts and not from parts. That we can name what's going on, right? I'm gonna name a part that really wants to make sure you guys are all enjoying this tonight. And I'm naming the other part that really is gonna sell IFS short tonight because I'm not gonna be able to give you the full picture. And I'll name another part that's gonna really hope that you guys are gonna wanna learn more. So I'm unblending from the parts, right? I'm naming them. I'm speaking for them, not becoming them. Being able to just say to a child, say to a spouse, I'm speaking for a part of me that feels frustrated. I'm noticing a part of me that's really getting shy. I'm noticing a part of me that's feeling impatient right now. It's not you, it's not me, it's just there's a part that it wants to take me over, but the second that I notice it, I'm actually making space between me and the part, okay? And we need to do that to create this integration and to center ourselves. And once we begin to do that, we could actually pinpoint which are the parts that are taking me away from staying centered. Which are the parts of my life that aren't allowing me to stay grounded and to stay centered and to stay where I want to be in my life, okay? And those are the parts that are really taking us out. Like a family, one child cannot take up all your brain space because you're not being centered to your family. Same with our parts. What we invite in IFS is to notice the parts that are very extreme. So until now, I've been talking to you about parts in general. Now we're going to shift to thinking, which of my parts are very extreme or acting in ways that I really don't like, right? Because if it's not broken, we're not fixing it. It's really the parts that really are taking you away from feeling centered and really do feel extreme. So many times we're holding secrets even from ourselves, where we don't want to really own, even within ourselves, the things that we don't like. We have whitewashing parts, we have denial parts, and we all live in blind playing fields. But thank God for those around us that are always here to remind us of our hearts. I think Rabbi Goldberg once made a reference to that, about your wife, making sure that you know your parts or something. So we're almost always tripped up. Where no matter, we don't live in an island, that at some point, a part of us is going to become extreme and someone is going to notice it or it's going to get in the way. So we want to notice the parts that are really making it difficult for us to stay balanced and for us to stay centered, because those are the parts of us that actually grew extreme, okay? And the IFS premise is all parts are here to help the individual. All parts are here to help you somehow. And that's what we're trying to uncover. Because every single thing that we do, all the things that people are doing, are just somehow trying to help them survive. Truly, are just trying to help them survive and get through their days and get through their lives. They're here to help you feel good about yourself. Essentially, they're really here to help you feel good about yourself. And even though a lot of times they don't act wisely, they have a positive intention for you. So I want you to separate between the part's intention for you and the impact of the part, right? The part has a positive intention for you always. Even though it doesn't always impact you or others well, its intention is positive, somehow positive, and that's the invitation in IFS, is to try to uncover what is this part's positive intention for me. So in IFS, other than the other therapies, we don't get rid of any parts, we get to know parts. We're never getting rid of parts. It's not realistic. We're getting to know them and being able to have a better sense of choice over them, right? Because overspending might not be good, but spending is fine. And overeating might not be great, but eating is fine. So we're taking our parts and helping them become less extreme, okay? We're taking our parts and we're trying to have more choice over them so that they could actually be regulated. But we're getting to know them, and it's through getting to know them and uncovering their positive intention that we do this. Just like children. A child could be having a massive temper tantrum, but the mommy knows the child has a good intention. He's just trying to get your attention. We don't like the way he's doing it, but he's trying to get your attention. So we want him to still get your attention, just in a different way. Same with our parts. When parts are acting extreme, they're trying to get your attention, and they want you to uncover, what are they here for? What is their positive intention for you? Why are you overspending? Why are you road raging, right? Why are you shy? Why are you anxious? Why are you depressed? I mean, the list is endless. And somehow there's a positive intention behind every part. Okay. Any questions till now? Are we clear? Yeah.
So what do you do about it? That's the question.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I know you have this, what do you do?
Those gonna be hard to answer that in this one workshop. But we'll get there. That is the whole theory. I mean, I'll give you a synopsis, but that is the whole theory. Yeah. Yeah.
Are you allowed to name a part for somebody else, or is it better to name?
That's a great question, Rachel. We all have parts that like to name other people's parts. That's for sure. It's not helpful, no. I've tried that one, it doesn't work. Okay. All right, so go ahead and return to the part that we started with. The one that I asked you if you had regret, and most of you raised your hand. Go back to that one, okay? Can you think about it for a minute? Go ahead and return to that part. Let's ask it. You have it? And you want to brave the demonstration? Okay. Go ahead and return to the part you were thought of, okay? And ask the part, how are you trying to help me? What are you trying to protect me from? How are you serving me? Okay? Sugar loving part, overspending part, how are you serving me? So the part may say, I believe that if I don't make you shout at people, if I don't make you yell and scream and rage, somebody will walk all over you. Okay? And then I'll ask the part, and then what will happen? If people walk all over you and step on you. You're gonna feel like you don't matter. Right? You're gonna feel like you're a nobody. You're gonna feel like you're worthless. You're gonna feel like you're powerless. Okay? So I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna protect you from all those feelings. So essentially, IFS is a pain prevention model. The entire theory of IFS is to try to help you not feel pain. Because we all wake up in the morning and we just want to feel good. And we're all the same. Everybody wakes up and nobody wants to feel rejected. Nobody wants to feel worthless. Nobody wants to feel meaningless. We all just want to feel good. And therefore, the way that we do that is by working with these parts. And these parts come to actually make sure that we feel that way. Somehow, they are doing that. Same with the busy part. The busy part had its own story. It felt that if it keeps Sarah busy, she won't prepare the project because it was very afraid that if she prepared the project, it might not come out good. And then she'd feel like a failure. Okay? And every part will have its own story, its own version of how it wants to keep you safe and how it wants to make sure that you don't feel what it doesn't want you to feel. So the IFS model is made up of 3 parts, 3 groups really. The managers, the firefighters, and the exiles. Okay? And 2 of the parts, the managers and the firefighters, are the parts that actually protect you. What are they protecting you from? From the exiles. The exiles are all the feelings that nobody wants to feel. And they're all universal. They're all the same. Powerlessness, helplessness, meaninglessness, worthlessness, anything, loneliness, rejection, thank you, abandonment. Any other guesses? Fear, terror, shame. Yeah, exactly. Nobody wants to feel those things, okay? And therefore we have the managers and the firefighters that are here to make sure that we don't feel those things. It's the never again motto. These parts are here, they're gonna protect us, not to make us feel pain. The problem is that often they distort the present for the past. And that will begin to answer your question. Is that the managers actually don't know how old you are. They are managing pain for you as though you're young. Because any time that we have an manager, it actually developed very young. Because it didn't develop today. Perfectionism and, overachieving, or I can't think of the ones that you guys thought of, but raging, overeating, overspending, very ambitious, taskmasters, perfectionism, yeah, exactly. They're all here to protect you from what you don't want to feel. But the pain that seems dangerous, it's not dangerous anymore. Because those managers don't realize how old you are. They don't realize how old you are today. That today you can handle it. What they do is they protect you in a way that's very trauma-driven, right? Because really, as an adult, we could handle those feelings a little bit. The problem is that as children, we couldn't necessarily. So when we have pain when we're very young, right? And we can't handle the pain, and nobody is there to really hold the pain. We have to develop ways to manage the pain. And then we grow up as adults, and we continue in these manager ways. The issue is that really the managers and the parts, they get what they're trying to avoid. And that's what's so sad about not really seeing them, because they actually create a lot more pain. So the idea of IFS is pain prevention, that the managers are here to make sure you don't feel pain again. But if we're in managers too long or too extreme, we actually begin to feel pain. Because we need to learn to really tolerate pain. Until we can recognize that these parts are here to help us not feel something, right? We're going to keep acting in ways that we don't really want. When we begin to recognize why these parts are here, and that they're here to make sure that we don't feel something, we can meet that goal in different ways. One of the ways is to be able to learn to feel, and to be able to learn how to feel, and how to begin to feel, and how to speak for the feelings, so that we don't have to continue on in these managers, in these very aggressive ways, very armored up ways, where we anyway are going to feel something we don't want to feel. So if we think about the example of Sarah, here it was, she was so scared of feeling like a failure by creating the project and not doing well, but she felt like a massive failure because she had a shame and a critic that was telling her you're procrastinating, right? So if you go back to your original part and you ask it, what are you afraid you would be feeling if you weren't doing that to me? What are you afraid would happen to me if you didn't make me do that act? If you didn't make me behave that way, what would I actually be feeling in that moment? You could just raise your hand if you could actually do that. You don't even say it out loud. I will not make anyone say it out loud. I don't have those parts. Were you able to figure that out? I won't make you say it. Great. Is anyone else able to? You're able to? Thank you. Okay, we need to do this again. We are going to start over. Go back to the part that you originally started with, where you had a tiny bit of regret. Do we have it? Do we have it? Okay. Go ahead and ask it. What are you afraid would happen to me if I didn't do that? If I didn't buy all those clothes? If I didn't eat all that cake? How are you serving me? What is your positive intention for me when you made me do that? Anyone getting anything? Okay. No, it's really important to me because I want to make sure you're getting it. Those are my parts. Owning them. Okay. So what could be happening is that there's another concept that I'll mention, which is self. And self, as Rick Goldberg keeps mentioning, is our internal leader and healer. And self, as Dick Schwartz has coined it with a capital S, is a place from which we do this work. Okay, and this is one of the main things that really helps differentiate, I think, other therapeutic modalities from IFS, is the concept of self. And self is really defined by 8 C words, if anyone knows them, but I will use the one of curiosity today. Self is not the part. is everything under the parts. There's the parts, and then there's self. And self is really our divine space. I like to think of it as the neshama. It's really our core. It's who we were before we were hijacked by defensive voices and before we had pain. It's really who we are in our best state, in our best self, in our best, most calm, centered space. That is self. And we only do any of this model in the office when people are able to access some level of self. So when I started by saying to you to unblend and you notice a part, that's already inviting self on board. Just by noticing that there's a part here, there's already self. Because now you have made space between you and these parts. Because self is very spacious. And the whole entire model is very relational. It's all about developing relationships with your own parts. And just like people, if you went over to a friend and said, hey, I binged last night, and your friend said back, you're an idiot, you're a loser, you're not going to continue talking to her. Believe it or not, we're the same. Our internal family will only talk to us if we're kind. And the kindness comes from self-energy and from being self-led and from coming at ourselves from this kind space. So my parts wonder if maybe because we haven't learned the concept of self yet, it's actually very hard to get the answer to the questions. Because maybe most of you are sitting here actually really hating the part you chose. And we can never change what we hate. We can never change what we hate. Just like people, just like kids, people change through love. And our parts change through love. And self loves. And self is kind, and self accepts, and self embraces, and self is open. So maybe we could just be curious. It's the easiest C quality, to just be curious. What is the positive intention of the part? When the part came and wanted you to buy all those clothes, or yelled, or screamed, or shut down, or avoided something, how is it trying to help you? In its perspective and it's in its point of view. Only its.
Try to heal something.
Trying to heal something maybe.
Pain, certain pain.
Trying to heal a certain pain, okay. Feel in control. Yes, exactly, to feel in control, definitely. Our parts love control.
Or loss of something.
Or
Loss of something.
or loss of, they felt loss of something? That the part felt like they lost something?
If it didn't help me, I would lose something.
That if the part wasn't there, then I would lose something. Right, exactly. So it's another form of control. Like, and they need to get this. Yes, exactly. Good, thank you.
I think what you say was fear of missing out.
Fear of missing out. That's a real part. Fear of missing out is a great part. Thank you. Fear of missing out is a major part. And the question would be, how is that trying to help me that I shouldn't miss out? What is that part so afraid would happen to me if I missed out? Okay? Yes, our parts are dying for control, and the control they want is they want you all to feel good. That's why, by the way, parts don't want to answer questions publicly. Just going to name that one now. No, that's the most classic thing in the world because they're so scared. Let's say they answer wrong. Let's say we're all so afraid of being judged. We're all so afraid of being vulnerable. Those are the bad feelings that none of us want. But when there's self on board, self can hold, and self actually reparents. And that's the beauty of the model. And once you really understand the model in its full capacity, it breeds a lot of courage, a ton of courage, because innately, we all have the courage. And we all have innate confidence. And we all have innate worth. So we're not as afraid. The fear comes from young trauma. I want to talk about trauma for a minute. There's capital T trauma and there's lowercase t trauma. When you hear the word trauma, 1 minute, because I have a lot of trauma if this whole thing falls down. That's lowercase t. Capital T trauma is really like abuse, molestation, violence, car accidents, the big things. Lowercase t trauma, we all have. It's really the small things. Like I said on Shabbos, growing up in a perfectionistic home is lowercase t trauma. Growing up in a very critical home is lowercase t trauma. It's anything that you marinated in that didn't feel good. is lowercase t trauma. Being bullied could be uppercase T trauma, it could be lowercase t trauma. Our brains, okay, are very traumatized. And trauma brains are wired to make sure that they don't have any danger. So if we were all walking in the street and right ahead of me, I saw a stick, a trauma brain will assume it's a snake until it gets close and says, oh, it's just a stick. A non-traumatized brain will see a stick until it gets close and says, oh my gosh, it's a snake.
That's me.
Yeah. When we have trauma, our brains are wired to see danger. We see it everywhere. Whatever it is that your trauma is, your brain is wired to see the trauma. And we will actually find evidence to assume there will be trauma. We will always assume danger before not danger. So if we were rejected at a very young age, our managers will really make sure we never get rejected. And if we were abandoned at a very young age, our managers will make sure that we'll never be abandoned, even if there's no current abandonment or rejection. The issue is that we live with our managers when we're already grown adults, and there is no danger. Because all of us in this room, we could all tolerate pain. I always tell my clients, it doesn't feel good. We don't like it. We don't like a lot of things. Nobody wants to feel rejected. Nobody wants to feel judged. Nobody wants to feel shamed. But we also don't want a bad smell. There are many things we don't want. But it's not like when we're young and we're 6 and we're 7 and we're literally being bullied. But our managers don't know that. So in IFS, we begin a relationship between self and these protectors. Self and the protective measurements. Self becomes the leader of all these parts. Okay? It's like an orchestra and a conductor. There could be a beautiful orchestra. Everyone is so talented. But without the conductor, the orchestra is not going to sound good. And that's us. We're a mess without the leader. A family's a mess without the mom and the dad. There needs to be a leader of the system. And as we grow older, we are the leader of our system. We are the leader of our parts. And the more that we could see all our parts and really, really name and make this U-turn and own and notice the extreme ones, we begin this relationship between ourself and this extreme manager. And we're gonna learn, why do you do what you do? Can I understand your story? I want to be curious. Why is it that you're so shy? Why is it that you're so anxious? What are you afraid would happen if you didn't eat the peanut butter? We want to get to know that part. I know it's funny, but really it's serious to some people, that peanut butter part. So let's try again. Go ahead and find that part, the one that you originally started with, that you had a little bit of regret. And notice if you have any parts that are criticizing it right now. So let's start with the raise of hands. Oh, can we find the part that you had a little bit of regret? Good. Now notice, do you have any parts that are critical of that part? Thank you. Critical of that part? Good. So go ahead and see if you could ask the critical part, because now we have 2 parts, the part that has a little bit of regret and the critic. See if you could ask the critic just for 2 minutes to just leave the auditorium. Just for 2 minutes, to give a little bit of space, that's all. You can come right back when you leave. You'll meet it when you leave it. Just see, just check. Okay, now go ahead and be curious with the part we originally started. Ask the part, how is it serving me? What's your role in my life? How are you trying to help me? What are you afraid would happen to me if you didn't do that? And see if you can really begin to notice why it's here, how it's serving you, how it's helping you.
Protect us from pain.
Are you able to, I'm not gonna put you on the spot.
No, you can. I'm not.
Oh, really?
It's protect from the pain.
Right. Are you able to notice the pain? Would you share?
Yeah, I have no problem to share. Let's say if I am dating someone and we start texting and all of a sudden disappeared, I'm like, that's it. I start to create a story that tell me that he's not the right guy for me because he's gonna play a game, I'm gonna get hurt.
So what's your, that was good, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yeah.
Voila. So can we slow it down?
Huh?
Can we slow it down?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah? So what are your parts in that? Are the parts thinking parts? Are there action parts?
the part that protected me from getting hurt because I know myself, like I'm gonna get hurt. I'm
Totally.
gonna be sad.
But what does your system do to make sure you don't get hurt?
I'm gonna create a story.
So your part is one that creates a story about the guy.
Mhm.
Okay, great.
Exactly.
So you have a part, great, this is very important because I want to make it very live
Yeah.
and experiential. So you have a part, thank you for sharing, that if you go out with a guy and you're not sure, you don't want to get rejected or hurt or sad, of course. So you create a story that he's not a good guy.
Yeah.
So it's like a little bit of a judgy part, would you call it?
Yeah.
All right, so there's a part that will begin to judge him even before you know.
Mhm.
And if that, which we could see it, a part can get what it's trying to avoid because if you judge him so fast, then it won't work, right? Right. So if that part would step aside and it wouldn't judge him, you might risk getting hurt. And at the same time, that part is getting in the way, essentially, right? Am I getting it?
Yeah.
Beautiful example. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Anyone else want to brave a part? Thank you.
I don't understand how anger.
Good.
So you thinking of vulnerable. I had like an angry moment with a child.
So did I, thank
Like,
you.
How is that serving?
Many.
Like, how is that anger helping me understand how?
Good, beautiful. Thank you for asking. Thank you. I know it takes courage for allowing your parts to ask. Anger is very helpful. So I want to differentiate again. In anger, everyone here has angry parts, I'm sure. If you don't, you should leave. Just go. So angry parts have different manifestations, right? Because like I said, each person's part in its own life. It's its own experience. My anger is not your anger, is not your anger, is not your anger. We all have such stories and stories about anger. And I always differentiate between feeling angry and acting angry, right? It's two different things entirely. You could feel angry and you could behave angry, okay? So I would first ask you, how does the part manifest? Can a person know you're angry? Do the kids see you're angry? Or do you know? Okay, so it's acting out angry, like yelling or barking or being snappy or
Facial expression.
good, facial expression. To the kid or to yourself?
Probably both. Probably to myself, but
Like, does the part want the kid to see the facial expression? You're not sure.
I don't think so. I don't think intentionally.
Okay.
Intentionally hurt, but
So it sounds more like you're feeling angry.
yeah.
Like, does the kid know you're angry?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's like the part is here and it wants to show kid, mommy is angry. Is that accurate?
But not intentionally. I'm not like, oh, I want to show this kid I'm angry. It's like
You,
I'm angry
okay,
and it
perfect.
happened.
So you don't,
Right.
you definitely don't, but this part does.
Right, yes.
So I want to make it clear. Perfect example. And that's exactly the point. None of us do. Nobody wants to hurt anybody. That's what I want to understand. Nobody wakes up and wants to hurt anybody. Nobody. Parts sometimes do. I'm not joking. So it's very liberating. This part, in its mind, for some reason, not you for sure, wants to somehow show anger. Can we be curious? Ask the part. How is it serving you to show anger at the kid? Ask the part. How does the part think showing this kid I'm angry would maybe be helpful? Anyone can answer.
The kid would behave.
Exactly. The kid will behave.
Learn from it.
The kid will learn. It's a brilliant part, actually. It works in the short term.
For me, I can't find any use for it as far as like, helping the kid. I just become upset and I know I shouldn't be upset, but I'm upset.
Another part, good, perfect. So one part becomes upset. Another part says, you shouldn't be. You shouldn't be upset.
Afterwards, not at the moment, like afterwards.
Of course, afterwards, for sure. Exactly. And then we go to bed at night and then we have a lot of guilt and a lot of shame, a lot of critics. It's a whole party of parts. There's good. So thank you. That part's brilliant. That part wants to make sure the kid behaves and the kid listens. That makes sense to me. Does that make sense to you?
It makes sense, yeah.
And I'm sure there are other parts that say, I don't like that, I don't like that I do that. And what's the part of fear would happen if the kid didn't listen? What's that part of fear would happen if the kid didn't listen to you? You didn't get him to behave.
People would judge you.
People would judge you, and you would probably judge you. Yeah, and what would you judge yourself on? What would you feel? Bad. Failure, exactly, thank you. You'll feel like a big failure. Why do we want our parts to make sure our kids listen? So we don't feel like a failure. We're just totally unaware of that in the moment. So what ends up happening is as soon as we can recognize and begin to have the noticing of, wow, I'm starting to learn that I have a part that gets angry because I want my kid to listen. Because I'm so afraid that if my kid doesn't listen, I'm really gonna feel inadequate. This is just one story. There's literally millions, and one thing about IFS you should know is it's tailor-made and it's laser-like, and I make no assumptions about anybody. But really, it's not about you. It's just a theory. And when we begin to recognize the goal and to see that we feel like a failure anyways, as soon as we yell. That's the crazy thing, is that we have no choice over our actions. We live based on theories that are faulty and strategies that are completely distorted. And we could slow it down from self and say, hey, wow, so if I don't yell, the kid might not listen, right? And that's not gonna feel good. Maybe I'll feel very helpless. If I do yell, he'll listen, but I'll still feel very helpless. Can I learn to tolerate feeling like a failure? Can I learn to tolerate in this moment in time what I actually feel so I can make better choices? And how do I want that to look? In this moment, as my kid is not listening to me, I see you, Inger. I see exactly what you want to do. I see you've done this for a lot of years. I know how it's going to feel afterwards, but you know what? I'm here now. I got this. We could do it differently. The issue is, what makes it more complex is sometimes our parts are so old and they have so much history and they've been wired for so many years that they're harder to change, and that's where therapy comes in. But sometimes it could do it on its own. I bet you're going to go home now this week and you're already going to be able to have a lot of unblending from your anger. You're going to be so aware of it just by knowing, oh, okay, if I yell right now, he'll listen. I'll have a lot of regret afterwards. And it's all about me not feeling like a failure, or whatever your answer comes for yourself. Can I tolerate that feeling? Can I match that in a different way? How could anger look differently? That's one option, just one version. Did someone over here have a question? Yeah.
This is all predicated upon self-introspection. And
Exactly.
but how do you get to that point where you can do that in a timely fashion on a regular basis without just reacting?
Right.
And where do you put this in the context of Shri Hashem Menegdi Summit and Yours Hashem?
Good question. So I'll answer the first question first. People always ask that question. Like, how do you do it on the spot? You can't do that. It's too long. It's too much. You really, first of all, can. I think a lot of the IFS work is about slowing down. Like, I think a lot of it is that moment of slowing down, and all reactivity is about slowing down. But a lot of this we do after the fact, right? Or we contemplate it when we're not exactly in it, or we're in the therapy room. And then it does impact the week. All good therapy impacts your week. Oh, no, just take that as a notice, that nothing to do with IFS. But if you're not thinking about your therapy during the week, tell your therapist. No, but it happens it's happening as you're talking about it, it's continuing to happen. And we are slowing down, and it doesn't take so much time, because you're able to feel the energy of the part versus self-energy. So you're noticing it's there and you're slowing down. In terms of the Hashem piece, I'm saying, to me, this is it's all very godly, because acting from a place of the neshama is really, it's the divine place. And we're better able to be kind to ourselves, to humanity. We're creating a much safer world. You know what I mean? So it is very God-fearing. It's a general question. I don't know if that answers what you had in mind.
Think about is it really more about taking care of yourself and letting go of control? Like, is that kind of the essence? Because if somebody's coming at you, even an adult, and losing their control, and you have a lesson to teach them, or you can just whatever you want to do on the other end. If you just let it go, it's like, I'm going to be okay no matter. It doesn't matter. Right? So
there's definitely a part of it. Again, it really would depend. Like, yes, a lot of it is a letting go, but I think it's more than just letting go. It's really learning to tolerate feelings. Because like if someone comes at you, we can go, parts are so subtle and they can make us let go, but we really didn't let go. Because in that moment, if someone comes at us, it doesn't feel good. So there's always that first moment of, ouch, that really didn't feel good. Okay, now what do I want to do with that? Parts are always are very fast and self is a little bit slow. So it would be like a secondary response to letting go. Because ultimately, if someone's coming at us or not treating us well, or there's something going on, there will be that momentary pause of this doesn't really feel good. And now what do I want to do with it? How do I want to respond? Do I want to respond? Is it worth
Again, but it's taking care of self.
It's always taking care, it's always noticing yourself. We say in IFS, if it's intense, it's yours. If something is intense for you, it touched you. Because we could all have the same circumstance and you guys are fine and I'm not. Or you're not okay and I'm okay. That often happens. The same thing can happen to two people, and why for one person is it so intense? And for another person it's not, because it touched you. So once something touches you that you feel it, it's yours. It's yours. We say if it's hysterical, it's historical. If something makes you hysterical, there is history to it. It's sitting on something. It didn't just happen that way. So yeah, it's about doing that U-turn, looking inside ourselves, not being so focused on the outside world, and taking care of us first. And then we say U-turn and then return. Because IFS is all about connection. It would never be like a person in IFS that would be like, I don't care about people, I'm good to go. It's all about connection. It's all about relationships, starting with ourselves and then going outward. I don't know if that answers.
Yeah, going back to Sarah.
Yeah.
And her putting things off. I
Yeah,
can
procrastination.
relate to that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I can see part of that being fear of failure, not perfectionism. There's another part that I can see as being, which I could relate to, small t, big T, whatever, which is that, now I'm 69, I should get over it maybe, but your mother
That's
yelling
hard.
at you, I want you out, I want you to do it this second, not 2 seconds from now, this second.
That a part would say that?
So, yeah, so it's like you're saying, wait a second, as a kid, I want my autonomy. I'm not gonna, and so you're pushing back that way. So is there a time, when it doesn't work as well because you're so hardwired?
So hardwired. It's harder. You're saying, I want to make sure I got it clear. It's a great example. So you're saying, like, let's say that a person had a history of a parent saying, like, do it this second. Is that what you were saying?
Exactly.
That in real lifetime, a parent said to a child, do it this second, right now, don't wait. And then, so the manager that took on to manage that pain was procrastination, like a reaction to.
We'll see, I'll do it,
Exactly, like you're not gonna tell me what to
And
do.
I'll wait,
I'll take my time.
Yeah.
Right, okay, good, so then, right, and that one, yeah, it's a great manager. Yeah, exactly, so you're saying you can see the direct correlation between the initial pain.
Right.
Do you know what the pain is? Anyone can take a guess what that pain is, if a kid is being told in that moment and then needs to say
Control.
humiliation.
control, humiliation. So another one,
Shame.
shame,
You don't matter.
you won't matter, and a lot of powerlessness.
Yeah.
A lot of powerlessness and need power. A lot of people who are abused, they go into I need a lot of power because they felt so powerless that the parts took on I need power to mask the powerlessness. So in that moment, it sounds like a kid would say, no, I'm going to do it my way, how I want it. And you're saying, and that went on, say, for 50 years. So how does the person really change that? Is that what you're asking? Like you're so hardwired. So the first thing is, first of all, it really works. I'm saying just the noticing of the reason why I'm doing this is because I need power and it's usually not working. Don't forget, when someone comes into therapy, it's because something's not working. You know what I mean? They're coming in already because it's not working. I always say, if you keep doing what you're doing, you keep getting what you're getting. That's it. This is an invitation to try something new. And people grab it because it's not working anyway. So just, it's a much longer thing, but we begin a healing process between the adult self and that little boy. To answer your question. We begin a healing process between the adult self today and we reparent the little kid and we actually rewire the brain so that in the today, there's no longer a distortion between the today and the history. And we can see clearly that, you know what? You no longer need to procrastinate. You no longer need to prove yourself. You're not a little boy anymore. You could do it differently. It's not about you and mom. That was history. You have all the power. And through that, people begin to make much better choices. So I hope that answers, but it really does work. It's a great example. Thank you.
But the deadline
So
does
it's-
make you uncomfortable. I'm so sorry.
No.
The deadline does make you uncomfortable.
The deadline.
No,
Oh, the deadline.
deadline for the project does
Right.
make her uncomfortable. And she has to be accepting of that discomfort, which she doesn't want to.
You mean the deadline of in that example?
But she has a project to meet,
Right.
and there's a deadline, so she doesn't want to.
But it's uncomfortable but not dangerous.
Correct.
Yeah.
But
So
she has to have that acceptance
it-
of the discomfort that you mentioned.
it's like, this is uncomfortable. It feels dangerous to the young part that thinks you're mom and needs to rebel. But I'm 69 now, whatever age, and I no longer even do that. So I'm here now and I can help you and I can tolerate that with you. So yes, you're right. It's not gonna, any change we make doesn't feel good. I always say it's not gonna feel good. In the beginning, when we make changes, it's actually one of the self qualities is courage and is creativity, because it's a lot of experimentation. And behaviors are the easiest things to change. And it's never going to feel comfortable when you're first trying to create change, because we're so used to doing it differently. You know what I mean? And I always encourage my clients, do it anyways. It's not going to be comfortable, do it anyways. It's okay, you could do it. Just like you would a kid. It's really like talking to a child. The way we begin to talk to ourselves in IFS is we're reparenting ourselves. So we're coming at ourselves like a benevolent parent, that you could do this. It's not comfortable, but you've got this. You could do it. And that's how we do it. And it's between the deeper healing and the behavioral change at the same time. Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah, well, yeah.
So it's called,
I have parts I want to make sure I go in order.
so it's called limit beliefs, limits decisions.
Oh, an
limits
NLP?
beliefs In NLP.
Ah,
And yeah, because I'm a coach of NLP. So it's called limit the beliefs, and it's the unconscious mind is like a 5-year-old. So he's just trying to protect you all the time. So it's similar.
I'm sure. One of the things about IFS is that I think is taking on a lot of different theories. The map is brilliant. The map is really brilliant.
How you deal with addictions?
Addictions, yeah. Addictions are parts. Firefighters.
Right, but it doesn't go away so easily.
Yeah, it doesn't go easily. I don't deal addictions just through Dick Schwartz would do addictions just through IFS. Personally, I would send addictions to programs, facilities, addiction specialists at the same time, because there is something so chemical there. The addiction for sure is a part to numb you. It's for sure protecting you from feeling, and people go from addiction to addiction.
From coping. They don't know how to cope. So they go to drugs, alcohol, weed.
Exactly, for sure. And for sure, it's here to protect you from what you don't want to feel. It fits in perfectly in the theory, but yes, in terms of treatment plan, I would send people, depending on the addiction, usually do more than just IFS. We do IFS with it, but more. Did that answer? Yeah.
So you're gonna teach this potentially for whatever you do. So does that mean, is it a model that needs a therapist, or you're gonna teach?
You could do it
people
on your
how to-
own.
yeah.
You could really do it on your own. You could totally do it on your own. Yeah, depending on how deep the trauma is. Sometimes parts like to be witnessed. Sometimes there are a lot of storytelling parts that like to be heard. So it's like you have to respect each person what they need. Sometimes the people come off trauma of a lot of loneliness. They like to be with someone in the room. But essentially, you could totally do it on your own. It's a language. It's literally a language that you could just take and do on your own. Yeah.
Coming out of left field, on the other side of the anger spectrum with the kids. Obviously, I come from a very different background, European and everything else, and you were also saying about how things are hardwired into people and everything else. How would you say, again, when you're a parent and you scream at a child to do what it is, and I obviously understand the sides of failure, or the kids are listening, you feel many different things. But what if you truly, again, especially like when you say, even when you're acting angry, but you're not actually angry inside yourself, there is a space in parenting to be like that, and then
You're saying to pretend you're angry?
to pretend you're angry so that the kid gets the message
Yeah.
of what you feel, and you feel that is a good method of parenting.
Yeah. So that would be the choice. So you're saying you're doing it as a choice.
Yes.
Yeah. So you won't have regret afterwards.
Correct.
You feel good about it.
Yeah.
So it's a very balanced part.
Okay.
Meaning, we're talking about things that are extreme parts that have no choice, and we don't feel we have choice over them. And they took on us over, we didn't say, hey, let me pause. Anger makes sense right now. Let me do it with myself. Myself's gonna take me. If that is what yourself decides and feels intuitively wise to do and it works, it's a very balanced part. Yeah.
Just wondering what age is this?
So it's a good question. I don't work with anyone under like 18, 19, 20, but people do work with kids. Usually with kids, we just kind of work with their parts directly. We don't have them dialogue as much. In IFS therapy, I'm facilitating a dialogue between the client and their parts. They're doing it. I'm just their guide. It's them and their parts. I'm guiding. But with kids, their self's not even fully developed. So the therapist more embodies self towards their parts and creates a conversation. It's great with kids. I don't work with kids. I don't work with any kids that have my own kids. It's enough work for me. Every time my kid gets a certain age, I lower the brow. Like now my son's 22, I don't work with anyone under 22 is, that's it. 22 and up. That's just how it works. Those are a lot of parts right there. Yeah.
So back to the addictions question, that's not a hardcore addiction, but I feel like almost everyone deals with addictive like behaviors on the session.
Completely.
Also, the examples you were giving about overeating or overspending, I feel like with that, it's almost more simplistic. It's so obvious it's to avoid pain and relieve discomfort. Does that make the IFS harder when it's such a direct link to that discomfort and pain, or is it simpler? Like how does the process work?
But, and it's missed one thing. Does it make, when it's direct, what did you say?
Like in the way that you speak to the parts and relate to the parts, is it the same process? Is it harder? Is it simpler? When it's literally so purely to relieve discomfort and pain?
Right.
And not like a specific kind.
You're saying if it's very clear, is it harder in IFS? If it's clear, specifically with addictions, if it's very clear, like any addict will probably tell you they're holding out pain. Most addicts would be able to
Is it
say.
specific shame or powerlessness or whatever, or is it just a like felt sense of discomfort or pain?
You mean which specific pain you're hosing out? Like whatever addiction we have, like you're basically asking about like more mundane addictions, like screening. Let's say screening.
Screen or the eating, like how, give me an example of how someone would relate to that part of engaging in compulsive behavior.
The same, really the same. Meaning we live in blind, I'm trying to think if you're asking that because you're saying we live in a blind playing field, so it's more subtle, so we're not sure we see it, or, you know what I mean?
I feel like when it's like a specific emotion like shame or powerlessness, feels like a bit of detective and it's like, oh, I got it, and then you can relate to like that specific emotion. But when just to relieve this like this yucky feeling discomfort, like I'm looking and the cover is ready for food, then like what's the dialogue?
So the dialogue is, and what would happen if you don't relieve that yucky discomfort? Why is it so important to that part to help you relieve that yucky discomfort?
Because of like a 7-year-old kid can't handle feeling yucky, I don't have the tools to deal with the yuckiness.
If you'd have that clarity, that would be major. Meaning,
It's still just as hard, clarity doesn't help.
and clarity helps a ton because what happens is that if we know, and I have a client just like that she's a 7-year-old and she eats, and if we don't realize we're 7, we think we're really eating as 30-year-olds. We're gonna talk to ourselves in the wrong way. So if you realize that you're really 7 when you're going in that pantry, you're automatically more compassionate. And you actually come at yourself in a much gentler way. If you think you're 30, you're very mean to yourself. So the way we talk to ourselves already has changed. You're no longer gonna say, you're such an idiot. What is wrong with you? Who does this? This is sick. If anyone saw you, they wouldn't even talk to you. Oh, whoa. This is how we talk to ourselves. And by the way, we wouldn't talk to anyone else this way, just to ourselves. It's very interesting. But if we realize like, wow, I'm going to that cabinet again. I'm really 7. I'm 7 years old. This is what it was like. I came home to an empty house. There was no one there but me in the pantry. I see you. I get you. And the whole dialogue changes. And then you can actually give that kid what she needs. Or maybe you'll decide that you want to go to that pantry, but in a much more regulated way. Maybe you'll actually take yourself to the pantry in a kind way, with choice. That you're choosing, this is what I need, this is what happens to me, and this is what's good for me. And it's okay. I could do this. So it's really, it's an internal dialogue. Everybody go over, give a question, that's scary. A lot of parts.
It's a question, and I hope it will also be an endorsement, encouragement for science for us to work on.
Perfect.
Do you believe, and can you explain why, that IFS is useful for everyone? Meaning if someone has interference in their life is compromised, they're constantly regretting behaviors, IFS is to learn their parts and regulate their parts. But if somebody's essentially functional and happy, could IFS and that dialogue uncover things that they would regret uncovering? Like, leave it, we're functional, we're good. Now you're opening these lower
Great
traumas, and you've just opened the Pandora's box that nobody needed to open. So is it for everyone or just for people who are?
Yeah, that's a good question. I understand, I really understand. Listen, it's a good question. I'm trying to think which way to answer it. It's very rare. It's very rare for that to happen because the bottom line is, even if a therapist might be the pot stirrer, there's always something in the pot. Do you know what I mean? And I feel like just because usually people are not finding things that they didn't need to find. So yes, I think that at some point we're all somewhere missing something relationally. You know what I mean? So it's not like IFS is nothing out of my course is gonna uncover or pull or dig. It's actually very much not a digging model. It's not like open heart surgery that we're gonna go in there and get into that trauma and find that. It's not. It's very about the today and just trying to improve things and do things with more choice. And the small places that we're not able to do it, we notice, like, is there something here? And our parts will only talk to us if there really is. So I know that question because I for sure also don't want, I have my own parts that don't want to bring people in the office and make more trouble. Do you know what I mean? And I think IFS doesn't do that because it's such a respectful model. And if anything, it just gives you a way to be kinder to yourself. And I think once we're kinder to ourselves, we're kinder to other people. Whether it's our children, our spouse, it's just a kinder way to be in the world. Like a more regulated way to be in the world, to show up in the world. So I understand the question, but it is rare. Like I think most people have something that's extreme they want to change. If they don't, even in a relationship, even if you're living with someone that's a little more difficult, even noticing an adult child's part, being able to look at them differently, to understand how they're being protected, to seeing why are they acting that way, why are they in that part, right? And to understand them that, they probably don't want to feel something. When I go into a taxi in Israel and I get yelled at, or someone's aggressive to me, I really think to myself, like, wow, I really just have compassion. Like, this person is so armored up, and I didn't even do anything. What is all this armor? Like, this person must really be holding something. So it's just like the way, it's a lens that we could see people in such a kinder way. Does that answer? Kind of? Yeah.
I have two thoughts.
Great.
The first is just in response to that, I feel like even if we are opening up Pandora's box, like if we don't need to open up Pandora's box, we will still come out a better person, and we'll still come out closer to ourselves.
I think so. Yeah.
And then
thank you.
My second thing, so I work in addiction. I worked with eating disorders, and I currently work in substance abuse. And I really hung on to when you said that we're not, that the focus of IFS is not to vilify any of the parts.
Exactly.
And I imagine telling myself that to my current clients who have very cynical view of the world. And if I were to say that to them, they'd be like, well, my part is my addiction, and there's nothing negative about that. Or there's nothing positive about that.
Yes. So
how would you go about shifting the question, or do you think that's necessary?
Yeah, it's very necessary. We can't change what we hate. We cannot change what we hate. Love changes, hate does not change. It doesn't. We cannot. And I would say, I know that it feels that way. It's really negatively impacting you and other people. But the addiction thinks it's trying to help you. Can you just see and ask it how it thinks? What's its intention? In its mind, in its mindset, just the mindset of this capsule, this addiction, how does it think it's helping you? And they'll try again. They'll say, it's not, I hate it. And that's another part. And that part makes so much sense. I really get why you hate it. I really get why you hate it. But this addiction, it is really trying to help you. And it's dying for you to know why. Can we try again to ask it, how does it think it's helping you? How old is it? When did it start? Why did it choose this addiction? Picture yourself in the addiction. If you didn't go for that drug, if you didn't go for that porn, if you didn't go for that screen, what would happen to you? And I would do it again, and I would do it again, and do it again, until the person could really get to know the addiction. And it's not to have to like the addiction, it has to like its intention, not its impact. Our parts have terrible impacts, but they have beautiful intentions. And I would say it over and over again, really, because until they can have some compassion for what they're doing, it's very difficult to create change. Even if they create a change for a very small amount of time, it won't last. When we're harsh with ourselves, it doesn't last. Another part will show up, you know what I mean? It just, to bash ourselves that you're worthless and you're an idiot and you're stupid, it just doesn't work. If it worked, I wish it worked, by the way. I really wish it worked. If the critics worked, we would all be fine. No, really. Like if we would just bash ourselves and we'd be better, we wouldn't need anything. It's not working though. Does that answer? Thank you. Question.
Is every root a childhood trauma, and is it necessary to map it out to that point?
Yeah, so, every feeling was felt young, because even in the most perfect homes, and this is the most non-blaming model, which is also why I fell in love with it, it never blamed parents, because everyone was in parts. So it's like, it just breeds so much more compassion. We all felt a bad feeling of some sort young, for any reason. When we're young kids, we feel helpless. We cry for too long. Someone was mean to us in the street, a class, a learning disability, a parent that had, a mental illness. We all felt something. And what happens is, if we were blessed to feel that and have a parent there to hold and contain it, we won't develop extreme managers because pain won't be so scary. But if when we're older, we have such an intolerance to pain, it's because no one helped us tolerate pain as we were young. So what happens is over the years, is whenever we feel that same pain again, that same flavor of pain, it goes into the capsule. So if someone's pain when they were young was loneliness, and they felt it 1 time, 2 times, 3 times. Anytime they felt lonely after that, it went into the same capsule. So it might have started when they were 3, and then again when they were 6, and then 16, and then 26. But it all went into that same capsule. So ultimately, we can track it back to the young age. We don't need to, but we can. And the best thing about it is that once we see it's young, we are compassionate. It's very hard to be compassionate to ourselves when we're old adults, because we expect from ourselves something different. But when we see ourselves as young and vulnerable, it's much easier to be kind. So it's not that we have to track it back, it usually is tracked back. And I want to say one more thing about your question. It doesn't have to be explicit, it could be very implicit. It's not like, oh, I have a memory that when I was 6 years old, and mom and my dad left me on the corner of the park, and no. It could be a felt sense. Like I just feel like I just metabolized in just very negative energy. Or I metabolized in or I marinated in this like conflictual place where nobody was getting along. I just feel it. It just feels like it wasn't a safe atmosphere. It doesn't have to be explicit. It could be a very implicit sense that I grew up in a way that just would make sense that this is the flavor of pain I can't tolerate. So the answer is, that was a long answer to yes. It does usually track back. It doesn't have to. And we could create very new pains and new relationships. We call them neo-exiles. That, let's say, in a marriage could bring on a whole new set of pain because it brings out a whole new experience in you. But most pain we track back to young because as kids, we all felt something. The answer is usually yes.
One last question.
One last question.
Is your course for individuals, couples? Is it with your book? How does it work?
It's not with my book. You could definitely get my book. My course is for, people can come as couples. I don't know how to answer that really. It's really individuals. You're welcome to come as a couple on the screen. Yeah, I guess as a couple or individual either, but it doesn't come with the book. You can get the book. Okay, I wanted to end with just one. I need to be loyal to IFS, and IFS international. We always end with a poem. So is that okay? 30 seconds. Okay, we're ending with a poem. Okay, I think this sums up workshop number 1. This is from young Pablo, called Coming Home. Much of my confusion and sadness came from being disconnected from myself. The greatest journey I have taken so far is the one where I ended the alienation between me and all that I am. The one where I connected my light and my darkness, where I united what I wanted to know with what I did not want to face. Only through this union and truthfulness did I begin to feel at home within my own being. And I think that's really what I invite you to take home with you tonight. You're just really being able to just notice and embrace and begin to unblend from your parts. The ugly ones, less ugly ones, the pretty ones, the ones you love, the ones you don't love, just to really begin to notice them all because they're really your own internal family and they're not the you at your core. So thank you so much.
I just want to end by thank you, Shira, for coming in from Israel. Those made it possible to happen. Obviously, we all got a sense of being in person is such a different experience than only being on Zoom. But I really encourage everyone, and the shul's not involved in the financial part of this. My incentive is only to be better and help all of us become better. But as much as we've gained and grown tonight, we'll continue to learn and be able to implement. Sign up for the continued workshops. The weekly has the details about how to sign up and the schedule of when they'll be. This was available to everybody, and we recorded it. Hopefully we'll be able to share it. The obviously ongoing workshops are for those who sign up for them. If there's anybody who is unable to financially afford signing up, please speak to me. We'll make it available to ensure nobody is not participating only because of the expense of the cost. So enormous thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing all of us learned tonight. Thank you so much.
I have to